Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making the Moxie dress in view A. So let's get started. To begin, we're going to start with back piece B. First we need to transfer all our markings. So you're going to have the two notches here at the back. Now, you may think you don't need these if you're doing the sleeveless version, but this keeps track of your back side, your back pattern piece. And then there's just this notch here, which is where we sew up to allow for an opening in the back so we can get it over our head. Now that I've transferred all the markings, we can set the pattern piece to the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring right sides together. And we are going to pin across here. And then we are going to stitch from the notch down to the hem with a 1.5 centimeter or 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, I've come back from my machine. You can see that I've stitched it down from the notches down to the hem. And I've kept a pin here while I sew just because it helps keep that in line when I'm sewing it. So we'll remove that now. Next step is we're going to take this to the ironing board and we're going to press it open like so. We're going to press it all the way up past the notch, so each side is going to flare out like so. And then when you're pressing, you're going to just simply fold in the raw edge there, press that down, and then you're going to edge stitch on this side and this side. I've gone ahead and edge stitched on each side here. You can see how beautiful that finishes. And then since I was there, did the bar tack here to provide extra reinforcement for the back opening. Now the back piece is done, we're going to move on to the front. For the front piece, we are going to make sure our notches are marked. So I'm going to do the one at the sleeve right here. And I'm going to make sure I transfer that to the other side, like so. And then the other marking is the dart. Now I'm going to show you how I like to mark darts. I like to mark the 2 points on the side there. And now I'm going to take off all the pins. And I like to open it up to the wrong side, like so. Grab this pattern piece, line it up again on the wrong side. And then you'll see that there's already a little pink marking here because I've already used this pattern piece before. I just stuck a pin through there so that I could be able to put my marker through, and it leaves a little dot right there. And then I simply join the dots and the markings together. So there we go. There's the first one. And then the second. Once you've done that, then you can go ahead and pin your dot together like so. And you're going to pin along here and then stitch and then press it down. and you'll need to repeat that on both sides. Both darts have been pinned in place. We're going to take that to the machine and stitch along that line there, and you can see that they are matching up to the other side of the dart. So I'll go do that and come back. Both darts are sewn down now, and you can see this one I've already cut the tail off here and cut my long tails off where I tied a knot. So I'm going to show you on the other side what that looked like. So I'm just going to grab these long threads so you don't back stitch when you're at the machine, because it doesn't give you as nice of a point. Well, it kind of gives you a point, so we don't want that. So I like to do 3 knots. Simply cut that off, and then we'll turn it around and we'll take this to go get pressed. Now that the darts are pressed down, you can see that it's just 2 beautiful darts in there. We've pressed it downwards. Now we're ready to start assembling. We are now going to move our front piece to the side and bring back our back piece. And right sides together, we are going to pin at the shoulder here, at the other shoulder here, and then the 2 side seams there and there. And once we pin it in place, we're going to stitch it down each edge with 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that I've gone ahead and stitched the shoulders and the side seam, I've gone ahead and finished it as well in my chosen method. So I've serged them, and then I've also gone ahead and pressed them towards the back. You'll find that that's going to be really helpful when you're attaching your collar and your bias. You want to make sure that they're going towards the back. Now that I've done that, I am going to set this aside and I'm going to start on the collar. I just wanted to make a quick note though, because I am using a heavier weight cotton that is very sturdy. I actually didn't stay stitch my necklines or my sleeves. I do recommend that you do that, and it is in the pattern instructions, but I just wanted to make a note because I have been a bit naughty and I didn't do it myself. Okay, this is where the magic starts to happen. We are up to the collar. Now, I showed you at the beginning of the video that I've already cut it out, but I am not interfacing mine because it is such a thick cotton that I am using. I've gone ahead and marked my notches. The 2 notches back here represent the back. So these actually don't match up to anything on the dress. This is merely there for you to put a reminder, this is the back part. And then this is the shoulder seam notch. And then here, if you are not doing the hack, this line here, you would have marked a notch, which mine is very faint, but it is there. So I've gone ahead and done that. Get rid of that pattern piece. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take right sides together and you are going to pin along the outside of the collar. So here, 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 and here, leaving this portion here open. And I'm going to show you what that looks like with the one that I prepared earlier. I've always wanted to say that in a video. So here is one that I've prepared earlier. Now we're going to stitch all the way around with 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Fresh off the machine, we have now stitched that seam allowance. I think you can barely see it because of how well my thread matches. And so once you've done that all the way around, again, this part is still left open, you can use pinking shears to kind of eliminate bulk depending on your fabric. Mine, like I said, is thick but is very sturdy, and so I'm only going to clip off the corners here, which I need to get in close because my thread really did disappear on this one. There we go. So you're going to do that at every corner, and then once you do that, you're going to turn it right side out. Okay, now that we've gotten that right side out, you can see my corners are looking beautiful. You're going to give this a good press, and then you're going to repeat what we just did for the other collar. Okay, once you've sewn your collars, what you're going to do is you are going to top stitch all the way around the outer edge. This is extra reinforcement, but it can also be an opportunity to use some fun trim if you would like. Once you do that, we'll start attaching the collar to the dress. Now that we've completed the top stitching on both of the collars, we're going to grab our main dress again. So here she is. And we are going to match up the shoulder notches to here. We're going to match the center front here with the edge of the collar. And I was a little bit of a brat and I didn't mark it, but I can luckily still see the fold in my fabric. So let's just quickly put that in. There we go. So this is the front edge. Oh, and a tip with the collar. This is how I know which one is the front and the back. Because the back notch had 2 notches, one disappeared from sewing it and the other one still is there. Whereas the front will not have a notch because it only had 1 and it disappeared when we sewed it. So there's a tip. Now here's where it can get a little bit fiddly, and this is where stay stitching your necklines and your armholes is imperative. Let's pretend like I did that. Now that I've pinned in 3 key spots, so again we've got the middle front matches the front edge of the collar, the shoulder notch matches the seam at the shoulder, and then back here the edge of the collar should meet up with that edge stitching we did in the very first step. Now once you've done that, you're going to ease. Ease means getting one fabric that is slightly bigger to fit into a smaller fabric, essentially. So in cases like a neckline with a collar. So what we're going to do is, you can see just like kind of putting it there. It's not like super exact, but if you give it a little tug, match them up, you can see it fits beautifully. So you're going to pin that like so, and then the neckline at the front is the one where you're going to see it the most. So you can kind of see that this seems smaller than this here. So you're just going to kind of have a little bit of a, like a little warm hug right here. You're going to just pin that to help you. But you can see that that fits in really nicely. So when you sew that, it's going to look beautiful. You're going to go ahead and do the same to the other side. And once you've done that, you're going to do a basting stitch. So basting stitch is the longest stitch length on your machine, and you don't sew backwards and the seam, you leave it open, and it is just there to hold the collar in place for when we attach the bias. I've gone ahead and basted down the 2 collars, and you can see it goes all the way around and it is nice and secure. I just wanted to make a note though that I have made this pattern multiple times, and my collar does move a lot. It depends on the fabric, it depends on if you've interfaced it or not. Mine, I didn't interface because it is quite structured, as you can see, and I also kind of wanted it a little bit more malleable, and so I wanted to show that I still have a little bit of a gap, even though the instructions say to put them as close together as possible and to meet in the middle. It does shift, and that's okay. And I wanted to make note of that because when we do attach the bias and this folds in, you won't be able to tell. So I just wanted to make a note. Do not beat yourself up if you are not getting these exactly down the middle. Before we get started on attaching the bias to the neckline, we're going to press our neckline ties. You would have cut 2 out. So there's 1, there's 2, and on the wrong side, what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half, like so, and you're going to press. And then you'll open it back up and you'll see it creates like a little indentation through the middle. You're going to bring the raw edges in to meet that indentation. Then fold it in half again, and that is what is going to create your ties. Okay, now that we've pressed that down, you're going to have 2 raw edges. We're only going to press in 1 raw edge here, just like so, and then fold it in. And then when you're at the machine, you can just play around with that to push it in. Then you're going to edge stitch across the bottom here, closing up the tie, and then all the way down here until you hit the raw edge, and then you'll repeat that for the next one. Now that I've gone ahead and edge stitched my ties, we can just put that to the side, but you can see here that it is folded in. A little bit harder with the bulkier fabric, but I promise you it's a good method and it gives you a really nice crisp result. So we'll pop that to the side. We're going to grab back our main piece now, so our actual dress, and we are going to start attaching the neckline bias. Here is the bias that I prepared earlier using the instructions that I have provided in the pattern. And all I'm going to do is put right sides together. We are going to pin along the neckline with our bias. Now in the instructions, it does tell you to press this and it shows you how to press it. I have done this so many times that I have skipped that. And if you are confident in doing it as well, you can skip it as well. Now there is specific measurements on how much to hang over this edge. Again, I just like to eyeball it, and then you're gonna fold it under like that. So you can see how that is folded under. All right, so starting here, fold it under like so. So it's encasing this edge that we already finished in the back. We're gonna pin that in place. And then you're gonna just go across the neckline, continuing to pin until you reach the other side. All right, now that I've reached the end, you can see that my bias is longer. I didn't cut it to size because I just like to do it this way. So I'm gonna trim off, gonna eyeball it like that, put that to the side, and then I'm going to just do what I did at the front, or at the start, sorry, I should say, because this is both the back. Fold that under, I'm going to pin that in place, like so. So you can see it's pinned underneath, and then on this side of the back opening, it's pinned underneath as well. And now we're just going to go ahead and stitch the seam allowance here, 1 centimeter, 3/8 of an inch. And then I'll come back from the machine once I've done that. Okay, I've stitched this down at the machine and you can see that it's still folded under back here, and that's secured, and then on the other side as well. And now what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pull it up like so, pull it up here as well, and you can see it's like finished it right there, which is lovely, exactly what we want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to understitch right here. So now that we've pulled up the bias all the way, you're going to stitch right here. Feel free to give it a press as well. This is designed to make sure that your bias doesn't come up when you're wearing it, and hence revealing the bias. So you're going to stitch here, and then once we've done that, I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, now that I've gone ahead and pinned all the way across, you can see I'm not catching the collar underneath. So you want to make sure your collar is out of the way because you are going to stitch through that layer. So take it to your machine, attach that, and then your neckline bias is done. Okay, we're back from the machine. And this is what your neckline looks like. Your bias is hidden inside, and your collar, we didn't snag it. And you can see that it's all stitched through there. And then your back is secured in place. Your back tie, sorry. Now that we've done that, we've only got one more bias to do, which is the armholes. Let's move on to that. Using the same concept we used for the neckline, we're going to attach the bias to the underarm area. So, using our bias here, you're going to pin right sides together all the way around, and then when you meet back here, you're going to do a little mark and stitch a seam there so your bias fits exactly the same length as your armhole. And once I've done that, I'll come back and show you what we do next. So you can see that I've made the little marks here. So I'm just gonna take that pin out. What you're gonna do, I'm just gonna match up those little markings that we just did, like that. Stick a pin, line it up, and you're gonna stitch right here, and then cut the excess off, press it open, and that is going to be the exact length of your armhole. Here's a visual to show you what I've done, and you can see that I've cut away excess, pressed it open, and now that fits the armhole exactly. What you're going to do is you're going to stitch with a seam allowance of 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch, and you're going to follow the same directions we did on the neckline, but no ties, so it's easier this time around. So we'll just do that, press it up, edge stitch it, and then fold it back under. Let's do it. We're getting so close. Okay, so I stitched it with the seam allowance, I pressed it upwards, and I edge stitched all the way around, as you can see. And now we're gonna follow what we did in the neckline. We're going to fold it in. We're gonna press that like so. And then we're gonna fold in the raw edge to encase the the armhole, like that. It's going to give us a really beautiful finish. Okay, back from the machine to show you what we did. And look how beautiful that is. That's not going to slip out either. You're not going to see it, the bias from the outside. It's beautifully finished. Now, the last thing to do is to hem, and we're done. Last part, this is so exciting. So all you need to do is you're gonna press your hem in twice by 1 centimeter. Now I'm gonna show you what I like to do because I don't like to spend all day pressing. So I like to get my gauge here. I like to measure out 2 centimeters, just like that, and then I will press the 2 centimeters all the way around. Then I'll just take it to the machine, and I'm going to fold in the raw edge like so. And you're done. I can't wait to see you twirling in your Moxie.